Hello and welcome to the Curiosity and Consciousness podcast. The intention of this podcast is to help you to open your mind, get curious about yourself, and raise your consciousness levels. Through these conversations, we hope that you will go on an inward journey to discover the truth of who you are and become the conscious creator of your life. I am your host, Karen Maloney, and I work as an inside-out coach, mentor, and guide, helping women to revolutionize their internal chatter and create a life they love. Listen to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or whatever platform you choose. And be sure to like, subscribe, review, and share the podcast. Check out my website as well, soulpowerlight.com, for more info. Hello. Welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in. It's me, Karen Maloney, and I have another brilliant episode for you today. But as always, just before I jump into introducing this week's guest, I invite you to join my mailing list. You can go to my Instagram handle at Karen Maloney _. That's an underscore at the end of the Y in Maloney. Click the link in my bio and it's top of the list. And I don't clog up your inbox. So then this week's episode is with Brad Yates, and Brad is known internationally for his creative and often humorous use of emotional freedom techniques, or EFT, or tapping as it's also known. He's also the author of the best-selling children's book, The Wizard's Wish, the co-author of the bestseller Freedom at Your Fingertips, and a featured expert in the film The Tapping Solution. He's also been a presenter at a number of events, including Jack Canfield's Breakthrough to Success. He has done teleseminars with The Secret stars Bob Doyle and Dr. Joe Vitale. Brad also has over 1,000 videos on his YouTube that have been viewed over 33 million times. So I loved chatting with Brad, all things tapping. And if you're not familiar with emotional freedom techniques, or tapping as it's also known, well then this is the episode for you, because Brad explains it. He explains the different acupressure points that you tap on and the emotions that they associate with, and why it can be very powerful and very beneficial. We also just have a general really good conversation about change and taking responsibility for our well-being and helping ourselves with supportive techniques and tools that we can move through the emotional pain of different events or fears that we face. And tapping has been scientifically proven to help reduce cortisol and the stress response and lots of other things. So a brilliant episode, but Brad also guides us through a tapping session, which probably starts around the 30-minute mark. And it's all to do with building more faith and trust and belief in ourselves. So it's really powerful. Enjoy it. And for anyone who may not be familiar with where the exact points are, I have more information that you can click on the show notes on my website. I've changed it, KarenMaloney.com, and click the podcast section. So if you want to go look at that just to see where the points are, and we essentially keep going around and tapping on those points. But Brad does guide us through it as well. And even if he misses a few, every time he speaks, we're on to the next point. So just follow along and repeat. And if you want to find out more about Brad's work, his website is tapwithbrad.com. Also, his YouTube is Tap with Brad, and I definitely encourage you to go check out his YouTube page like that. He has so many videos on probably every topic you could ever think of, so you could pick whatever aligns for you. But as always, I will have all the links as well on the show notes on my website, KarenMaloney.com. Click the podcast section. Enjoy. Welcome everybody, and thanks for tuning in for another episode. I have another wonderful guest for you this week. And first of all, Brad Yates, you're very welcome, and thanks so much for joining today.
Oh, my pleasure, Karen. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, like we were just chatting there for a minute before we kicked off recording, I was just telling you that I recently joined your Tapping Into Your Best Self challenge that you did. I know you're not doing it now. Don't know when you may be planning one again, but just to tell people as well to keep an eye out for them, because it was an absolutely brilliant week that you brought us all through in lives each day, just helping us move and shift different things to tap into our best self. And I just love it. So thank you, first of all, for that. And that's what you do, tapping, which is emotional freedom technique. And maybe just for anyone who hasn't heard about tapping before, maybe if you could just tell us a little bit about it and we'll go deeper into it, but also what led you to it? What fascinated you about tapping?
How does a grown man find himself tapping on his face for a living? Yeah. And for those of you who don't know what EFT, emotional freedom techniques, or tapping is, that's what it is. We tap on our face, basically. And I know if you are new to it, it does sound a little weird, but trust me, it's very effective, very beneficial, and there's a really good reason why we do it. It was originally based on acupuncture. So a psychiatrist by the name of Dr. Roger Callahan was working with a woman with a lifelong water phobia and was learning a little bit about other things, and was taking a course in acupressure. And when this woman told him that she experienced the fear as a knot in her stomach, he said, "Well, let's see if we manipulate this point under the eye, and we just tap here. This is the meridian point for the stomach. Let's see what happens." And not only did the knot in her stomach go away, but this lifelong water phobia went away. And he thought, well, that's interesting, and started experimenting with different patients. And that's what we call a 1-minute wonder, and they don't usually happen quite that fast or quite profoundly. But it started this whole thing of finding out that by tapping these different points along these meridians, we're able to clear out stress and emotional discomfort. And then one of Dr. Callahan's first students was a guy named Gary Craig, who simplified the process that Dr. Callahan had come up with and called this new process emotional freedom techniques, or EFT. And again, a lot of us just call it tapping. And yeah, just a profound, simple way to calm down the stress response. And we have a lot of modern research showing that that's what's happening, and not just anecdotal evidence of people tapping on their face and saying, yeah, I think I feel better. We can see with cortisol studies, with lab results showing that stress is reduced in the body. We have fMRI studies now where we can look at brain scans and see the shift in brain activity. So as strange as it might look, it is well validated by a growing body of scientific research.
I love it. And so I think it's definitely becoming more and more popular. But if someone still hasn't heard about it or seen, and even the first couple of times you do it, you're kind of like, what the hell? This is a bit insane. But sometimes I think as well, the more I go on my journey, I'm like, the things that seem mad are actually the best most of the time, And I love how you mentioned, it's a 1-minute wonder. Or maybe that was a once off. But I find actually, there can be so much huge shifts within such a short period of time. It may not be miraculous as in, your fear, whatever, never crops up again. I mean, there's always layers and layers, but it definitely is powerful to allow a big release. You've mentioned tapping, you've mentioned the face, and you mentioned one point under the eye, which is stomach. So I like science as well, and just to help people visualize as well more, or understand a little bit more as well. What's that saying? The method in the madness. So on the different points, could you just talk us through some of the points and actually what meridian or what acupressure point it's on and how it can support someone?
Yeah. I'm not an acupuncturist. I'm not a doctor. I just played one on TV. That's what I did before this. I was an actor.
Yes, that was another question. What actually led you?
My backup career, this hypnotherapy was my backup career when I got married and our first child was on the way, and I thought I might need a backup career, and so I became a hypnotherapist, and that led me to tapping.
And the rest is history, as they say.
The rest is history. And when I had, so as part of my acting training, I had gone to Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey Clown College. So when I was first introduced to tapping, it didn't look so weird to me.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
had the luxury of being a little more open-minded to it.
Yeah.
So we generally start by tapping the eyebrow point, and so this is right at the beginning of your eyebrow, just right near the center of your face, either side of the nose, and That is the bladder point, and it deals with sadness and trauma. The next point is, so if you follow your eyebrow out to the side of your eye, in the corner of your eye socket, and that is associated with the gallbladder meridian, and it's associated with anger and resentment. Right under the eye is associated with the stomach meridian. It's associated with fear. Then right under the nose, and this is right under the nose is what's called the governing meridian, and that is associated with embarrassment and humiliation.
Mm.
Next point is right under the lip, just above the chin, and that's the central vessel, and that's associated with shame and guilt. Next point is what we call the collarbone point. So if you feel your collarbones just about come together, there's a little U shape at the base of your throat. And so just about an inch to the side, on either side, is the kidney point, and that's associated with fear. 2 points for fear, because fear is pretty much underneath all of our uncomfortable emotions.
Yeah. Totally.
Next point is down under the arm, about 4 inches below the armpit. And I'm having a senior moment and forgetting which organ that's associated with, but that's
Spleen,
associated with low self-esteem. And then the top of the head. And so we just tap around the crown of the head with all of our fingertips. And that's it's called the meeting of 100 roads, because several meridians cross over right at the top of the head. So it covers a lot of bases, that one.
Wow. Thank you so much for going through all that as well. And, for anyone who may be a bit lost, I always link your details and everything in the show notes afterwards. So I can link a video where you're demonstrating them, or a graphic or something as well, so people can see clearer as well and just follow exactly of where you're talking about. But I love it. And it's just, it's the power of our body, and actually, where different meridians and things run. And this is what I always say as well. Like, we're just so oblivious. We don't know. I always say, like, our body is the greatest piece of technology we will ever own in our whole entire lives, the intelligence it has. But we're not taught anything about it, So when we often start this practice, or usually it is, and in my case was a self-discovery, and we begin to open up to the power that we actually hold for ourselves, it's just like, whoa, mind-blowing. So I love this and the simplicity of it as well. And even from your experience, what kind of shifts or changes have you seen happen for people from using this method, or even in your own life?
Oh, yeah. Where do I start? For me, having been a struggling actor, and then going and being able to have the level of success that I now have with this, that was from a lot of shifting through tapping and clearing my own fears of success, fears of being seen. I know it's crazy, the idea of an actor who's afraid of being seen, but that's a huge thing for most people. We have gifts and talents to share, but we're afraid of criticism, we're afraid of rejection and judgment, and that stops us from putting ourselves out there.
Yeah.
With all kinds of folks. Like yesterday, working with a client, and she was upset about something that happened in her life recently, and it was really manifesting as a difficulty in her neck, and her neck was hurting at like an 8 out of 10. And so we were I don't think we even talked about her neck, but we were tapping on the things that had just happened, the sale of a property that she'd had for a long time, and some other things that were going on. And after a while, I said, "Oh, by the way, how's your neck?" And she goes, "Oh my goodness." And she's moving her head all around. She goes, "I don't feel anything." So seeing both the emotional and the physical shifts. And this thing is, it's a mind body. And so often we don't associate that, and we take our bodies for granted. And like you say, it's so amazing. I'll sometimes have people with their eyes closed, especially when people are talking about, well, I'm not, worth much, or things like that. And I'll say, no, you're awesome. I mean, the actual literal definition of the word awesome, because if you close your eyes and you think about, okay, right now I'm breathing, my lungs are drawing in oxygen, my heart's taking that oxygen and circulating it throughout my body. At the same time, my brain, my ears are allowing sound to come in, processing those sounds, making sense of them, creating images in my mind. Oh, I'm also digesting my breakfast, and I'm also, and all these things,
talking and thinking and all of other things
exactly.
at the same time.
And it's like, that is literally awesome what
Yeah.
we are able to do. And we take ourselves for granted so
Yeah.
often, and we get confused. And it's because we're trying to take care of ourselves based on our beliefs. We're doing what we think we have to do, including dismissing ourselves or discounting ourselves or whatever it
Mm.
might be. And we have a stress response if we don't do exactly what we think we're supposed to do. And the tapping calms down that stress response so that we can allow ourselves to say, hey, it is okay for me to acknowledge how awesome I am. And now, what am I going to do with that?
Mm-hmm.
And how can I, have more faith in myself, believe in what's possible for me? Because very few of us are going beyond scratching the surface of what's possible for us. But we have all these beliefs about why we couldn't or shouldn't believe that more is possible. And we want to tap that stuff away and allow
Mm-hmm.
ourselves to go, wow, I could do that, and I can handle the consequences. If it doesn't work the first time or the second time or the 25th time, that doesn't mean I'm incapable. It took Thomas Edison, 1,000 tries to get the electric light bulb
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Most of us only have one or two tries on anything.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
so we come way short of what's possible.
Yeah, it's true. We allow those fears because we all have underlying fears.
Oh,
Fear
yeah.
is like we all have fears, and that's okay. But it's having a mechanism or a way to work through them so they don't actually hold us back or keep us small or keep us living a bit, unhappy and not totally fulfilled. Because, like you say, we are awesome. We were born awesome. We came here to live an incredible life, and that doesn't mean it's not going to be without challenges or difficulties, but it's all part of it. And when we learn techniques to move through it, we can actually grow so much more from these. So, and I know you mentioned a word there as well, and we were chatting briefly beforehand, and you kindly agreed that you'll bring us through a round of tapping before we wrap up. And, talking on kind of that element of self-belief and trusting ourselves and moving through those fears that we hold against ourselves. Because again, in my work, I truly believe that if we don't believe in ourselves, we actually don't believe in possibilities. We don't believe there's other ways for us. We don't believe that we're worthy and deserving of what we truly desire. And that's why so much of my work, because that was my journey as well. It came back to, oh, hang on, I actually have to have my own back through everything, first and foremost, because without that, I'm going nowhere. So we look forward to that as well. And I know we've been talking about it and some of the benefits. And you mentioned, that lady with her neck pain. Is there a certain way that it needs to be done? And I know sometimes, when people are doing tapping, they're actually talking about or they're vocalizing as well the real pain or the real trauma or the real fear or phobia or whatever might be coming up as well. And sometimes it can appear counterintuitive, but
It
what
goes
is,
against what we've been taught about positive thinking.
yeah.
And so when I'm introducing EFT to people and we start off by tapping on the side of the hand, so before we start in the round, the points I described are the tapping points we use in a round, but we start with a setup statement where we're tapping on the edge of our hand, which is a spot called triple warmer. And it's just a process that allows us to be more open to the tapping process and doing this work. So as I start tapping the side of the hand and saying, even though I'm feeling this pain or this anger or whatever, and people go, whoa, whoa, no, 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 you're not supposed
I'm
to talk
not
about
going there.
that. And what we resist persists.
Mhm.
You were saying you have dogs. If your dog poops on your carpet, you don't say, I'm going to pretend that's not here.
Oh,
That would be trouble.
yeah.
Because
And
for
smelly.
one, you're not going to kid yourself. Part of your mind is totally focused on it, and you're going to step in it and spread it around. So we don't want to just dwell on the negative, but we want to address it. We want to look at it and say, "Oh," so we don't just sit on the sofa and look at the dog poop and say, "Oh, there's poop there." We say, "It's there. I clean it up, and now I can enjoy my living room because there's no mess there anymore." And that's what it is here. We're addressing, okay, I'm feeling this strain, I'm stress, I'm feeling this anger, I'm feeling this pain. I have to notice it. If I break my
Mhm.
arm, don't go to the doctor and say, let's talk about my leg. My leg feels really good and I want to focus on the positive.
Mhm.
So that's why we do it with this, because it's a cleaning process. We want to acknowledge what's there, clean it up so that then we don't have to think or talk about it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's so powerful as well because, again, well, my experience growing up, we weren't taught really anything about emotions or how to process our emotions, how to feel them, how to allow them, because emotions actually are transient. They actually dissipate when we allow them. But when we're used to stopping, suppressing, avoiding, running, hiding from them, that's when bigger things rise up. So I think it's a powerful tool to help that process, as you're like feeling, and sometimes it can be intense, but you're also getting that calming because you're tapping on a point that's helping with different things. And like they say, you have to feel it to heal it. And something else that you say that I absolutely love in your videos, taking full responsibility for your well-being. I mean, that for me is paramount. So can you just speak to that for a minute and your intention with that?
That's my pseudo legal disclaimer at the beginning of videos, because when we're doing this process, emotions come up. And so people might say, "Oh, well, you made me feel bad because I watched your video." It's like, no. If you're going to watch this video, take full responsibility for your own well-being. And only in taking full responsibility are you going to be able to change your life, because I can't do it for you. But and it's not even the tapping that makes us uncomfortable, it's the looking at it. Because what happens is we have this stuff and we ignore it, and it's there. It's like, one of the analogies I use is, if you imagine that you had company coming over and you thought, "Oh, I'm going to clean up my room, my living room, because I have company coming over." And you say, "Well, on a scale of 0 to 10, how clean is my living room?" "Oh, it's about an 8 or a 9, but I really like these people, so I want to make a good impression." So you start cleaning up and you notice, "Oh my goodness, there's dirt that's under the carpet that I swept under there." And you move the couch and you notice there's dirty laundry under there that kind of smells, but it doesn't smell bad enough that you were really paying attention to it. And so now you're aware of it, and you wouldn't say, "Oh, see, I shouldn't have gone to clean up my living room. It was fine before I started cleaning." It's like, no, that stuff was there,
Yeah.
but now we're aware of it. Same with the tapping is, as we go and start to address these things, we become aware of it. But the tapping is cleaning. So we want to be able to do that too. Now we're aware of that. Now we've seen it. Now we want to clean that out so that when company comes over, it doesn't smell like dirty laundry, because we've addressed that, and it gives us this freedom to move on.
So important. And it all comes down to responsibility, full stop. Like you say, if we're not taking responsibility for ourselves, it's very hard to heal. Like, yes, shit happens, and that's not saying it's right or wrong. Like they say, what happened to us may not be our responsibility, but our healing is 1,000,000%. Our healing
Right.
is, and that's what it's about. And like you say as well, we do have blind spots. We're kind of unaware, but once we start, often a lot can come up and be revealed. But again, how important is language or a person knowing in the first place what it is that they think they need to tap on?
The more clear we are and the more specific we can be in the language, the more effective it tends to be. However, there's no wrong tapping. So even if you're not getting the words right, whatever that might mean, and people have different takes on that. There are some people who have certain ideas about tapping, and they hear me tap and they say, "Oh, you're not doing it right."
Yeah.
It's helping a lot of people. So,
Yeah.
and it's different strokes for different folks. Some
Exactly.
people
Yeah.
will respond better to a different practitioner and their different way of saying it, because my way is not the right way for everybody. Just like there's not one musician that everybody should be listening to. And there are some musicians who are very popular and some people don't care for them.
Yeah.
So there you go. And it's finding what works for you. So we can start using whatever words and exploring, what do I think it might be? Or I can even tap without saying any words and just be aware of what I'm feeling. And
Okay.
if I'm feeling this tightness in my chest or a knot in my stomach or whatever it might be, I could say, even though I have this tightness in my chest, I love and accept myself. Or I could just be tapping and tuning into whatever that is. The words are designed to tune us into the problem. So if we had spilled something on our carpet and we get out the vacuum, we don't have to say anything for the vacuum to clean up the mess. But if we're not sure where the mess is, maybe whatever we've spilled, it's not really obvious, it's not like dirt on a white carpet, then we might need to pay more attention to focus on, okay, where is that dirt? And so the words help us to really focus in. And so there's some people who say, well, you're not supposed to say anything positive while you're tapping because it's supposed to be cleaning. If you're vacuuming your carpet, you can be saying, oh, there's dirt, there's dirt, there's dirt. Or you can say, beautiful, clean carpet, beautiful, clean carpet. It's still cleaning it up either way.
Yeah.
It is beneficial to be as specific as possible, but so there are levels of effectiveness. But any tapping you're going to do, even if you're doing it silently, is going to help to downregulate the stress response and help you to feel better and give you more freedom to be, do, and have what you really want.
Love that. For me, it's like in the name, curiosity. When we approach everything with a sense of curiosity, we can find our way as well, because I know for me as a person, I lived so shut down. I actually didn't even know how to express. I actually didn't even know how to name an emotion. Like I didn't know which emotion I was feeling. So even just a person approaching it, maybe they're feeling a bit that way as well. Just whether you have so many videos as well on your YouTube, and they're absolutely brilliant to find a specific topic if you wish, but like that, even just with the curiosity, tapping themselves on a different point to even see, well, what is it maybe that I am feeling, to allow it to express, and then finding other avenues with it. So I love it. I'm like such a big fan, and I think it is really, really powerful. And maybe just before we go into maybe doing a little guided tap, have you had a most bizarre scenario or situation with tapping?
A bizarre. I mean, we're tapping on our face, so it's already a little on the bizarre side. Karen, you've stumped me.
Or a reaction from anyone in particular who maybe had no idea what they were letting themselves in for, that they were like,
Well, there has been. For a couple of years, I taught at Sacramento Drug Court, and this was a recovery program for people coming out of jail for drug offenses. Very different audience for me. Somebody who knew my work invited me to come do this, and so I would go down for 3 years. I taught this. So working with these folks who, I come in there, and start telling them to tap on their face was different. But just, I remember one just go, oh my God, this shit works. It's like, that's why they bring me in here. This is not further punishment to you. You're out of jail, but now we're going to make you tap, paying your debt to society.
That is epic.
With physical things, I was at a health fair once, and some guy came up to the booth and was complained about some back problems and said, his pain was like an 8 out of 10. And we did some tap, and he said, yeah, I think that feels better. He and his wife came back about 2 hours later, and they said, I don't know if you know this, but in another part of this park, there's a dance floor, and we were over there dancing. And what the heck did you do?
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of, it's fun going through the comments on YouTube and just seeing the different things, the people saying, wow, I tapped this, and as soon as I finished tapping on money, I got a call that I was receiving some money that, out of the blue, and things like that.
Amazing.
In fact, that happened with one of my money videos. I did one called Money Comfort. And as I was shooting the video, and at the end of the video, I went and I found out that I just received, some big check for something. It's like, brilliant. Wow, it even works for me.
Yay! Well, you'd hope it even works for you. Of course it does. Yeah. Brilliant. And wow, yeah, what an empowering place to use tapping as well for the likes of people coming out of jail or things like that. These resources are so, I think, vital for those kind of communities and people, because more than anything, they don't need to be locked up. They need emotional and resources and tools and techniques, I believe, anyway, more than anything. It's rehabilitation. So what a great place to bring it to as well.
Well, and it ties in so well with what we're talking about in terms of this self-belief. We are not defined by our circumstances. And it's very easy for folks who have been incarcerated to feel defined. Well, that's who I am. I'm a loser. We are not defined by our circumstances. Our circumstances are created by how we've been identifying ourselves, how we've been defining ourselves, and we have been doing so with misunderstandings. You're not bad because you were incarcerated. You were incarcerated because you were under the false belief that you were bad, which led you to do bad things. Change your mind about yourself and you will change your circumstances. And it's, creating that belief and that acknowledgement of, I actually am awesome. And since I'm awesome, I can allow awesome things and I can allow myself to show up in awesome ways.
Definitely. That's absolutely it in a nutshell. Always starts from within and changing ourselves and our perception of ourselves and how we think, feel, and what we believe about ourselves. So let's, if you will, kindly,
Let's do some tapping on that.
let's bring us through a guided session, please. And just for anyone who may be listening as well, before we go into this, just if you want to take a pause, if you're not familiar with it, and either go to the show notes, I'll have a link there to something, or just do a quick Google of the points. So if you feel you need to be clearer, and then you can come back, and here we are.
Excellent. So first of all, go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and hold it. And let it go. Now just breathing comfortably with your eyes closed, just allow yourself to feel centered and grounded. Following your breath through your body, just allow yourself to be aware of what you're feeling physically and emotionally. And now think about what you really want to create, what you imagine your ideal life to be. Don't limit that. Don't say, well, I think I could maybe allow this little bit of improvement. Ask yourself what your ideal life would look like. And just feel what goes on inside. Notice where there might be fear. Notice where there might be resistance. And in terms of, this faith and belief, say, it's possible for me to have this. And notice again what you feel, and notice what parts of you might be saying, oh, that's not true. Either one, it's not, the universe can't give it to me, or two, I'm not capable of doing what it takes. It might be available to other people, but not for me. So whether it's a doubt in the universe or a doubt in yourself, just allow yourself to be aware on a scale of 0 to 10, how much doubt there might be. Don't judge that. Just allow yourself to be curious. Where did I pick that up? Just noticing what you feel in your body. Take a deep breath. Open your eyes. And just repeat what I say and tap where I say to tap. So tapping on the side of your hand. Even though part of me doubts it's possible.
Even though part of me doubts it's possible.
I choose to love and accept myself.
I choose to love and accept myself.
Even though I have some doubt that it's possible.
Even though I have some doubts that it's possible.
I choose to love and honor myself.
I choose to love and honor myself.
Even though I might have some doubt that it's possible.
Even though I might have some doubts that it's possible.
Because of old programming.
Because of old programming.
Telling me why it couldn't happen.
Telling me why it couldn't happen.
Or why it couldn't happen for me.
Or why it couldn't happen for me.
And why I shouldn't even think about it.
And why I shouldn't even think about it.
And even though I might have some doubts about this being possible.
And even though I might have some doubts about this being possible.
I choose to deeply and completely.
I choose to deeply and completely.
Love, honor, and accept myself.
Love, honor, and accept myself.
And maybe anyone else involved.
And maybe anyone else involved.
All these people who taught me this stuff.
All these people who taught me this stuff.
Because they were doing the best they could.
Because they were doing the best that they could.
And I choose to be free.
And I choose to be free.
Okay. So tapping right at the beginning of your eyebrow. All this doubt that it's possible for me.
All this doubt that it's possible for me.
Side of the eye. All this doubt that it's possible for me.
All this doubt that it's possible for me.
Under the eye. When I think about my ideal life.
When I think about my ideal life.
Under the nose. Part of me says, that would be awesome.
Part of me says, that would be awesome.
Under the mouth. And another part says, that's not possible.
And another part says, that's not possible.
Collarbone. Either I don't believe the universe can do it,
Either I don't believe the universe can do it,
under the arm, or I don't believe I can do it.
or I don't believe I can do it.
All this doubt that it's possible. Or
All
top of the
this
head, all this
doubt
doubt
that
that's possible.
All this doubt that it's possible.
Eyebrow point, all this doubt.
All this doubt.
Side of the eye. And I choose to clear this doubt.
And I choose to clear this doubt.
Under the eye. I choose to clear it at a cellular level.
And I choose to clear it at a cellular level.
Under the nose. I choose to clear it all the way back through my past.
I choose to clear it all the way back through my past.
Under the mouth. Back through all the times in my life.
Back through all the times in my life.
Collarbone. That I somehow got the message.
That I somehow got the message.
Under the arm. That what I want isn't possible.
What I want is impossible.
That I wasn't capable.
That I wasn't capable.
Eyebrow point. That I wasn't deserving.
That I wasn't deserving.
Side of the eye. I choose to clear that out.
I choose to clear that out.
Out of the eye. Because they're misunderstandings.
Because they're misunderstandings.
Out of the nose. Either mine or somebody else's.
Either mine or somebody else's.
Either way, one of us is wrong.
Either way, one of us is wrong.
Collarbone, because so much is possible for me.
Because so much is possible for me.
On the arm, and I am capable of much more than I know.
And I am capable of much more than I know.
Top of the head. But I'm afraid to know that.
But I'm afraid to know that.
Because part of me says.
Because part of me says.
Side of the eye. If I have more faith in myself.
If I have more faith in myself.
Out of the eye. I might do something stupid like try.
I might do something stupid like try.
Onto the nose. And it might not go perfectly.
And it might not go perfectly.
Onto the mouth. And then I'll have to deal with the shame.
And then I'll have to deal with the shame.
Collarbone. I'll have to deal with the pain of disappointment.
I'll have to deal with the pain of disappointment.
Onto the arm. And I've been taught by well-meaning people.
And I've been taught by well-meaning people.
Top of the head. That I should not risk disappointment.
That I should not risk disappointment.
Eyebrow point. Maybe they said, don't get your hopes up.
Maybe they said, don't get your hopes up.
Side of the eye. They were just trying to protect me.
They were just trying to protect me.
Out of the eye. But it's terrible advice.
But it's terrible advice.
The advancement of human society.
The advancement of human society.
Out of the mouth. Is dependent upon people getting their hopes up.
Is dependent on people getting their hopes up.
Collarbone. And if it doesn't go perfectly.
And if it doesn't go perfectly.
Under the arm. I can handle that.
I can handle that.
Top of the head. I've handled all kinds of things in my life.
I've handled all kinds of things in my life.
Eyebrow point. I've handled everything that has ever happened in my life.
I've handled everything that has ever happened in my life.
Side of the eye. Maybe not always as gracefully as I would have liked.
Maybe not always as gracefully as I would have liked.
Out of the eye. But I still handled it.
But I still handled it.
Onto the nose. The proof being that I'm still here.
The proof being that I'm still here.
I am worthy and deserving of more faith in myself.
I am worthy and deserving of more faith in myself.
Collarbone. And I handled it.
And I handled it.
Onto the arm. Before I even learned how to tap.
Before I even learned how to tap.
Top of the head. And now that I know how to tap.
And now that I know how to tap.
Eyebrow point. So much more is possible.
So much more is possible.
Side of the eye. I'm clearing all of this fear of having faith.
Clearing all of this fear of having faith.
Out of the eye. Clearing this fear of taking risks.
Clearing this fear of taking risks.
Because if I'm not willing to take the risk of disappointment.
Because if I'm not willing to take the risk of disappointment.
Out of the mouth. The alternative is guaranteeing disappointment.
The alternative is guaranteeing disappointment.
I could go for that ideal life and miss.
I could go for that ideal life and miss.
Or just decide to miss it altogether.
Or just decide to miss it altogether.
I'd rather take my chances with the risk.
I'd rather take my chances with the risk.
Eyebrow. I'm clearing this fear.
I'm clearing this fear.
Side of the eye. I choose to have more faith in myself.
I choose to have more faith in myself.
Out of the eye. I'm worthy and deserving of that.
I'm worthy and deserving of that.
Onto the nose. So I'm clearing the doubts and fears.
So I'm clearing the doubts and fears.
Out of the mouth. The universe has everything that I want.
The universe has everything that I want.
Collarbone. I've got what it takes to do what it takes.
I've got what it takes to do what it takes.
Onto the arm. And I am loving myself in the process.
I am loving myself in the process.
Top of the head. In body, mind, and spirit.
In body, mind, and spirit.
And take a deep breath. And with your eyes closed, go back inside and think about that ideal life. And maybe you've had some ideas about, oh, I know what I could do to get that. And hopefully it feels much easier and much lighter and more possible.
Oh, for sure. Thank you so much, Brad, for that. And it ties in perfectly. I don't know when it was exactly, and this hadn't occurred to me at all. But a couple of months ago or weeks ago, I recorded an episode just talking to people about our dreams and desires and how our job is not to give up on them or to make them more manageable or to play small or to think it's something that we might be able to achieve. Or our job is to dream and to dream big and to put no limits. And then the work is on whatever comes up, those thoughts, those fears, those resistances, those blocks. That's the work, not dumbing down the dream. The work is on those resistances. So that will actually even tie in perfectly. What a powerful tap. And I'd forgotten about that totally.
Don't settle for what's already what you already know is possible. Otherwise, we'd all still be crawling on the floor.
Totally. For sure. For sure. Oh, Brad, what a beautiful and wonderful and empowering conversation. Thank you so much for joining today. And if there's anything you feel called that you still would like to share, please do. But also please share where people can find out more about your work.
Thanks, Karen. Certainly the easiest way to find me is on my website, tapwithbrad.com, and on, all over social media, Instagram, Facebook, Tap with Brad, and certainly on YouTube. That's where I have over 1,000 videos. And the final thing is really learning to love yourself, and loving yourself right where we're at. And sometimes we say, but if I love myself right where I'm at, I won't be motivated. It's like, oh, well, I don't need to get healthier because I love myself in the shape I'm in. I don't need to be wealthier because I love myself even when I'm in debt or whatever it might be. No, you think about the people you really love and you want the best for them. So as you love yourself more, you're naturally going to want things to be better and better for yourself. And so it's looking at, okay, how much do I love myself? And what stops me? Why don't I love myself more? And tap on that stuff and clear it out, because there's no good reason not to love yourself.
Totally.
Benefits other people.
For sure. For sure. What a beautiful message to end on as well. Thank you so much, Brad. And as always, I will have links to your website, to your socials, and definitely to your YouTube as well, because there's so many brilliant different videos there that people can tap along to, whether on all sorts of topics. So I will link those all as well in the show notes. So thank you so, so much, and keep tapping.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you get notified every time a new show is released. Get more information on this week's guest as well on my website, www.soulpowerlight.com.